Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kyusho here, and now, before we do start, let us give a brief little review. In the last part, a number of things have happened. Now, in the last part, we had Deku. Deku, whenever him and Charlie went out to eat at a restaurant, they had somebody send Deku a video of himself in the bathroom. Deku, he was trying to at least check his injuries in the mirror, and the person, they recorded Izuku and sent the video to him later that day. Deku was quite alarmed. That put him very much on edge, and Deku, he didn't really know what to do. Whenever he was at home, he grabbed his gun and tried to make sure nobody followed him. Tried to make sure that if anyone ever tried to break into his house, he would be safe. Now, Charlie spent the night here because of this, and Deku didn't want anybody following her home. Now, speaking of the Weaver household, a number of things happened there the same night. Ron, Charlie's ex-boyfriend, the boyfriend who is a little obsessed with her, and I mean that in the lightest way possible. He took the photos Charlie sent him, figured out who the person was, it being Deku, and then they sent these photos to Charlie Weaver's father. Now, John Weaver. I believe that I've never given him a name, so let's do that right now. John received these photos in the mail, and he was quite alarmed by how graphic many of them were. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. Because whenever he saw a scar on the person's side, he realized who the man was in the photo. He knew that Charlie had a new boyfriend. He knew that his daughter was acting a little different, a little stranger, a bit more girlish. Yeah. He thought that she might have finally found the right guy. Maybe she finally found a healthy relationship. Yeah, Ron, he's ancient history now. At least that's what the man thought. However, this healthy relationship she might have found turned out to be with a boy she's known for a very long time. And Mr. Weaver, he's not really too sure how to feel about a lot of that, especially knowing how far they may have gone, since the evidence is right in front of him. Now, Mr. Weaver left Deku a voicemail, and he even left him a text message. And Deku right now is awake up on the couch. Him, somewhat, a bit stiff in the shoulders, and looking around. As Charlie, she actually is somewhat to lay on Deku. Him going to try and stand up, as Charlie is going to somewhat shift and move around herself. Deku going to get off the couch and walk over to make coffee. And Charlie right now just going to lay there. Her half awake, as Deku, he does to make a pot of coffee. And Deku, here's her to walk over to his front door. Him checking the locks, and actually something to look out. He feels a bit more paranoid. I mean, after last night, he kind of has a right to be right. So there's that. And he definitely doesn't feel... Okay, Izuku, you're just... You have the right to be paranoid, but just be careful. Don't act irrational. Now, Izuku is going to walk over back to the couch. I'm going to somewhat sit down and tell Charlie about a few things. Right now, her still half awake. And Deku, he does try to do a few things. He goes to pick up his phone and check his messages, since he does see a few notifications. He has a voicemail from John, and he also does have a text from him. And John, he wants Izuku to come over this morning because they need to have a chat. And Deku's a bit more surprised by this. Shit, did something happen over there too? No. Okay. Deku going to actually call John. And John is going to pick up the phone. Hello? Hey, Mr. Weaver, are you alright? I'm fine. Okay. Thank God. No, something happened last night and I didn't know if you were okay. You fine, boy? Yeah, I'm fine. Is my daughter over there with you? Yeah, she's here. Listen, I... Izuku, I need to talk to you. Come over now. Bring Charlie. I'm gonna hang up. And Deku's a bit more surprised. Huh? Okay, something happened last night. That's not good. Shit. Uh, okay. They're going to actually walk over. Him gonna wake Charlie up properly, as she actually is a bit more confused. And Deku is trying to explain a few things. Her dad's probably worried about her since he didn't come home, and he's assuming he might have received a similar text. And Charlie is a bit more surprised by this. Him going to actually walk over and go into his room. Him going into the bathroom to take a shower. And around Charlie's not going to sit there. Her going to stretch and actually get up for some coffee. As Deku reveals him walking out, after a few minutes, he's dressed and has his hair somewhat combed back. And Charlie actually does try to ask Izuku some questions. Him trying to explain a few things as the two are going to leave. Now, let's currently cut about 30 minutes later. Deku and Charlie they pulled up to the Weaver household. And they're going to see a few things. The house is still there, it's still intact. Mr. Weaver is still here. He didn't go to work today. And that is somewhat odd. And the two are going to get out and head inside. Right now, them going to walk up the stairs and head in. As they're actually where Deku, he does a look around the area. Mr. Weaver? Here. Kitchen. Alright. They're going to turn and going to walk into the kitchen. As Charlie herself went to go walk upstairs to her room, since she kind of wanted to take a shower. Now, currently Deku, he was walking to the kitchen, turning his head to see Mr. Weaver. John sitting there at the table with... What? Wait. Now, John does at least bring his hand up. Deku's usually come here and have a seat with him. And Deku, he does do so. Right now, John has a glass of whiskey to his left, along with a bottle of it. He has what looks to be some documents from work and a knife on his right, so yes, it must have happened. Deku's sitting down and staring down at the photos in front of... Oh, fuck. Now, Deku's blood is going to run a bit cold, and Mr. Weaver, he has this look up towards Izuku. Him bringing down his left hand and grabbing onto his glass. Him going to take a sip from it and express to Izuku. Okay, well, that's a bit of a dead giveaway, isn't it? I'm going to put the glass down and bring his hand out. Him going to slide the papers over to Izuku, expressing how he wants an explanation for this. Mr. Weaver, I can explain that. Can you? Listen, boy, I... Sorry, I gotta calm down a bit. Starting to get too angry. Listen, boy, there are a lot of things I've seen in my life, and these I could have gone my whole life without. Now, I'm going to ask you a very simple question, Zuko. I received 30 photos. Here is 10. Do you want to explain to me the other 20 I saw? Now, David's going to reach his hand down, grabbing onto the photos and going to see... Okay, so there's that one. There's that one. He somewhat remembers that one. A bit of a weird angle and... Oh, God. Okay. Boy, those are just the ones I kept to talk to you. They're the ones I burned. Now, Izuku, I'm gonna flat out ask you this question, because it looks a little obvious in some of those photos, but I'm gonna tell you right now. After everything I've done for you, I took you into my home, I helped to raise you after what happened to your parents, boy. I saw you as the son I've never had. I taught you everything I know. I taught you how to fight. I taught you to throw a goddamn punch. I taught you to defend yourself. And what did you do? You turned around on me and you fucked my daughter, Izuku. Now, I'm going to flat out ask you this question again. And I am going to want a proper answer to this, Izuku. After everything that you and her have been through, after everything I have done for you, this is how you repay me? Izuku, did you fuck my daughter? Mr. Weaver, okay. Listen, it's a lot to explain, but where's the man gonna turn? Him grabbing the knife and spinning it around as if to stab it down directly into the photos. Right in front of Izuku. And Deku, he does still won't sit there. Right now, Charlie going to hear a sound downstairs. And she thought the door might have, well, had someone knock on it. So she does actually someone gonna get out of her room and go to walk downstairs. Her right now walking downstairs and there's no one at the front door. Listen, Izuku. Her gonna turn and right now walk into the kitchen. Her hair is still wet, as right now Charlie does go to turn and see Deku and her dad and Dad, what's going on? Charlie, me and Izuku are having a private conversation. Him bringing his hand off the grip of the knife and putting his hand back down. Him gonna actually grab his glass and drink down the rest of it. As currently is gonna turn and throw the glass directly into the wall. And Charlie's a bit more alarmed. Her dad's a man of rationality, but whatever he just did, why would he? That wasn't. Now, Deku's a turn to Charlie, and his eyes do kind of say everything. He knows. And Charlie currently does a step forwards. Okay, Dad. Right now, her gonna look directly at her father. Gonna look down at the knife and then see the photos. The photos she sent to Ron. Now, Charlie does look a bit more surprised, but then a bit more annoyed. Ron is still pestering in her life. And right now, that does say quite a lot. Ron sent these to her father. And that video last night. The one where Deku pulled up his shirt to see the scar. That must have been Ron. Ron probably wanted to show Izuku some sort of fear. Maybe make him fear for his life, fear for her. But then there's this. Ron never knew about Izuku's scar. Until yesterday. Now, Charlie does someone get a bit mad. As right now she actually someone going to try and tell her dad to calm down. And around the man has to go to someone throw his hands down to the table, smashing onto it and jumping up. Talking about how he doesn't want to hear that from her. Now, right now the man, he does still going to bring his hand up. And the actions with Deku, here's to see the man going to bring up his left arm and actually try and swing on Deku. And Deku, whenever he does going to do that, Deku does bring his hand to catch the punch. Right now, Mr. Weaver actually staring at Deku and trying to throw his other hand. As right now there actually is where Deku, he does actually take a solid punch at Mr. Weaver. He does something to actually stand there. Ham could actually turn to Charlie, yelling at her about what he saw. She's a grown adult. The fact that he saw her like that makes him incredibly angry. It makes him mad beyond belief. Right now he wants her to understand. She shouldn't have even fucking done that. Taken that shit. Sent that to someone? I mean, what the fuck was she thinking? Now, Mr. Weaver currently is going to bring his hand up. He was going to grab at his shoulder and actually going to look down at his arm. As Deku does go stare at that. You okay, John? I don't need you to tell me or ask me that right now. Arm's a little numb. You two are grown adults, but I will not be having that right now. Charlie, you... Right now he was going to grab at his chest. And right now Charlie's going to stare at that. He grabs at where his heart is. And Charlie's a bit more surprised. And Deku does actually someone going to notice this as well. Charlie going to step forwards and grab on her dad. Her going to actually sit him back down. And trying to ask him, is he okay? I can't feel my left arm. It's hard to breathe. It just hurts. Oh my god, Izuku, he's having a heart attack. Okay, I'll call an ambulance. They're going to jump up, grabbing his phone, and going to actually walk out of the room. As Charlie just won't sit there. Okay, Dad, listen to me. Okay, listen. Me and Izuku have been dating for a while. Everything escalated whenever I found out Ron cheated on me, okay? It was my fault everything happened. Those photos were my idea. Okay, just calm down. Okay? There's going to be an ambulance on the way. Okay? He's calling one right now. And Deku, he's going to call an ambulance. Him going to try and give the address. As right now, Deku, he does want to stand there. And does have a lot going through his mind. The photos Charlie sent to Ron. Ron sent them to her father. Ron sent him that fucking video last night. And that does say quite a bit. And Deku, he actually somewhat feels his blood starting to boil. Mr. Weaver's about to have a fucking heart attack. He's probably having one right now. And out of the ambulance, it is on the way. They're going to walk back into the room as Jenna Charlie, she's continuing the explanation. Her right now explaining a few things about how things went between her and Izuku. And Deku, he doesn't want to sit there. John's still staring at Deku, and with a bit of anger on his face. But there actually is that somewhat softened expression. Charlie's the one who made a move on him. And Deku, he only made a move back whenever he thought she was actually interested. There's still a lot there. He's still fucking angry about these photos. The fact that they exist. The fact that he had to see them. But the fact that the two are trying to figure things out, from what he can tell, it might be Charlie's relationship. I mean, Ron was toxic and trying to change her. He hated the boy. And Deku was a son he could be proud of. Somebody he wished Charlie could be with. Yeah, he's not a straight shooter with a regular job, but I mean, he taught the boy how to throw a punch and defend himself in this world. He taught him how to get by. I mean, do no harm but take no shit. Be nice but don't take shit from others. And that does say quite a lot about the boy. And right now, Charlie, she actually doesn't want to stand there. As there actually is where an ambulance is going to arrive. And Mr. Weaver is taken away. And Deku and Charlie, the two do still get to sit there. And right now, Deku, he does get to think about leaving. He thinks about what to do. Right now, he thinks about getting out of here and canceling his fight. Canceling his next match. His father, well, technically, father-in-law, or no, foster parent had a heart attack. So there is that. And he doesn't know how his boss will react to that news or how he'll figure things out, but Jesus. Jesus Christ. Now, Trey doesn't want to sit there. Right on her hands on her head, someone crying. Her dad had a fucking heart attack. All because she decided to send those photos to her ex. And that makes her mad at herself. And currently Deku does a stand. He has a lot on his mind. He wants to get out of here and take a breath. And right now Deku, he's going to walk over to the front door and open it up. She's going to turn and ask where Izuku's going. As Deku right now, he has to step outside. And the moment he is going to walk down the staircase, he is going to turn his head. We're now seeing somebody crossing the yard inside, well, the private property. And Deku doesn't see Ron. Right now the guy is going to look up towards Izuku. And Deku, he looks at him with just pure rage. And Ron is going to stare at Deku himself. He looks at him angry, mad. Before Deku just go charging forwards. Now, Ron is a bit more alarmed. As Deku is immediately going to tackle into him and bring his hand back, smashing into him as right now Charlie's here screaming outside. Now, right now Deku, he does currently push Ron further into the ground, bringing back his fist, smashing him over and over into the face, screaming about what the fuck he did. Now, Ron actually is trying to retaliate, him trying to throw his own punches right back into Deku's face, and currently does at least try to punch directly into Deku's hurt side. And Deku, he actually doesn't feel the pain from this. It's immense, but his quirk is helping to numb some of it. And right now Deku is going to continue to bring back his fist, smashing over and over again. As right now there actually is Ron. Ron does try to fight back. Him actually trying to use his own quirk. Now, Ron, he could actually try and blast his hands up, smash them into Deku. And Deku doesn't feel the sting, the burn. And right now there actually is Ron, he does want to get the advantage. Him being able to actually push Deku off of him, or if he tried to bug his hips up into Deku. And Deku, he actually does get to have his hands or his feet go off the ground. Him being struck with the full force of Ron's quirk, as Ron is actually going to somewhat push Deku onto the ground. Him are not going to climb on top of him and try and bring his hands back. And there actually is Charlie. Charlie heard what was happening outside. And whenever she saw that Deku was fighting somebody, she saw that it must have been Ron. She felt angry. But most importantly, there was the fact that Ron, he actually started to use his quirk on Izuku. Deku is still injured and recovering, and after everything that's happened, she needs to at least confront Ron. Now, there actually is where she's got to at least turn and walk into a room. And right now, there actually is where a few minutes later, Deku, he actually does bring his hand up. He was trying to actually punch Ron in the face, and there actually is where Ron, he does get sent flying off of Izuku. Him, currently, right now, going to actually lay out on the ground. As Deku, he actually is the one going to look down at his arms. His arms have burns on them. And right now, fact is, he needs to actually get up and kick this guy's ass. He's gonna fucking kill him this time. He knows that. And now there actually is where a gunshot is gonna ring out. And Deku does turn his head. And Ron, he actually is not gonna turn. As Charlie, she fired the gun directly into the dirt, in front of the stairs. And currently, she's just a step down. Her gonna bring the gun up and aim it at Ron. And people heard that gunshot. Someone was already calling the police, because a man walked into the property and he was immediately attacked by one of the people who lived there. They recognized Izuku as someone who's lived there for a while. So the fact of the matter is, if that person came here, they must not be welcomed. At all. Now, they were on the line with the police, and a unit was already being sent out. But the moment the woman mentioned that a gunshot rang out, police, they immediately turned on their sirens and started to haul ass there. They already knew something was happening, so they were already on the way. But right now the units the units that are already heading to the location, they do actually somewhat speed up a bit more. And they're told about the situation. A gun is now involved, and that is quite a lot. Now, Ron is going to climb to his feet, and Deku himself actually does something to lay there on the ground. Him panting heavily and breathing. His heart is thumping in his ears, and he's pissed off. And Charlie does this stare at Ron. As right now Ron, he's gonna bring his hands up. Okay, Charlie. Right now him gonna actually climb to his feet, and start to walk towards her. Okay. Her right now going to walk down the stairs and hold the gun up to him. And Ron is gonna start stepping closer and closer. Right now he's about, let's say, 10 yards from her. And that does mean quite a lot. As right now Charlie is going to tell him to stop moving. And Ron does take another step. Her putting the gun down and firing another bullet, aiming the gun right at him. Stop. Okay, Charlie, what the fuck is wrong with you? Me? What's wrong with you? I told you I never wanted to see you again. You constantly trying to text me, find my new numbers. You know you gave my dad a fucking heart attack. What? No. That wasn't what I meant to do. Meant it? So you don't even... You admit you sent those to my father. Okay, listen, Charlie. You're not acting rational right now. No, me. The entire time me and you were together, you were fucking crazy. You think I'm not acting rational. I am acting rational. You're a fucking psycho, Ron. A controlling, manipulative bastard. I never want to see you again. If you take another step, I'll fucking kill you. You've already hurt Izuku. This will be self-defense. I know I'll get away with it. Okay? I'm asking you to leave. I don't want to have to kill you. I really don't. Right now her eyes tearing up. And Ron just stare at Charlie. And Deku doesn't see Ron. His hands, they glow with energy. And then right now the witness, the person across the street, they just see Ron. His hands start to glow. And Charlie, she actually does aim the gun a bit further up, towards Ron's head, telling him, walk away. And Ron does a step forwards again. Her going to actually turn and shoot Ron in the shoulder. And Ron is actually going to fall and hit the ground. Right now him, going to lay there as Charlie just a step forwards and ask him, just get off the property. And right now whenever Charlie's a step forwards, Ron is actually going to bring his leg out. Him kicking her directly in the leg, as Ron actually is going to turn and fall. And Ron, he's put in a bit of a struggle. Right now, he does try to go for the gun. And Deku, he does actually climb onto his feet and rush forwards. As Charlie, she is trying to fight Ron for the weapon. However, Ron is using his quirk to heat up the gun. It's hot. And Charlie does start feeling her hands burn a bit. As Ron there actually is with Charlie, she has hold the gun. And Ron, he does at least sort of grab at it, struggling for it, before they're actually sort of bang is going to go off. I don't know, Charlie stares directly at Ron as he's going to go limp. And Deku, he's going to step forwards, actually grabbing his hands out, grabbing onto Ron and pulling him off of her. And Charlie's going to lay there, her clothes covered in blood, as the police do go to arrive. Now, Deku, he actually sort of bend down to ask Charlie if she's okay, and encouraging the police to go actually jump the fence and run into the property. As Deku, whenever he does actually something to turn, he's immediately tackled onto the ground. And Charlie is asked if she's okay, since right now she just sit there with a gun in her hands, and she looks like she is in a high emotional state. Now, the officer does let her bend down, and they do try to tell Charlie to put down the gun, put down the weapon. And right now Charlie, she actually doesn't want to drop it, her hands shaking and covered in blood. As she's going to turn and stare at Ron. And the officer does a turn. Then we're going to actually bend down and check for a pulse. And Ron, yeah, he doesn't have one. Now, the officers try to radio in, expressing about the situation, what's happening. And they do at least try to ask Charlie for her name. And the officers, they do try to help clean the situation up. Charlie is taken inside. And Deku, well, he does go to someone lay there in handcuffs and wounded. They try and get questions out of him, or answers out of him, asking him questions to see what's happening. And the person, they do is going to run across the street, trying to yell to the officers about what's happened, what they saw happen, what they saw go down. And whenever they realize that Deku, he's one of the people who lived at this location, they uncuff him. Because apparently, well, he may have thrown the first hit, gotten aggressive. The person here, they came here to be aggressive. They actually tried to take a gun from Charlie. They kept pushing and pushing, rushed her even whenever she had a fucking firearm in her hands pointed at them. And that does say quite a lot. Now, Charlie has to try to give her statements and tell the officers about what happened today. Ron is a stalker of hers. She never got the police involved because she thought he was just, well, a misunderstood guy. She knew that he had some screws loose, yeah. He was a little crazy. But the fact that he would go this far, I mean, he tried to wrestle a gun from her hands, and he actually hurt her. Like, he was a manipulative bastard. And Charlie, while she doesn't have any charges filed, fact of the matter is, she still has a lot of shit to go through. This is self-defense. He rushed her to attack her, and she kept giving him warnings to stay where he was. Charlie, she is not going to be arrested. But Deku, however, that's a bit of a different situation. He's the one who rushed Ron. He was the aggressor in that situation until Ron fought back against him. And they kind of do so understand. Ron was a stalker. He kept coming around, and while there wasn't a restraining order filed, they are going to still keep him in police custody until they can get some answers. And Izuku, yeah. He does stay behind bars for a minute. He is charged with aggravated assault, but those charges are, well, you know, against a stalker like this, she has records whenever she had her phone changed and actually contacting her phone company. They can see all the messages that were there. They can see that he constantly pushed and pushed and pushed. And from what they can tell from looking into his car, he has photos and video evidence of Charlie over the last few weeks. And that all starts to stack up to prove that Ron's a stalker. He just kept looking at her. He kept following her. And now it all culminated into this situation. And whenever they do find out a bit more about that, they investigate Ron further. And Izuku, he is let go about 2 days later. Now, currently Deku, he does sit there in the passenger seat of his own car. And Charlie does sit there, her head leaned against the steering wheel, as right now she's crying. Her father's in the hospital and she just murdered her ex. She fucking shot a man. She, She never wanted it to come to that. She never wanted to kill Ron, but he just went full psycho. And right now Deku, he's gonna bring his hand out. Him grabbing on Charlie's shoulder as Charlie does his turn. Her jumping into Deku and crying. And Deku does gonna bring his hands up, wrapping them around her as she's gonna sob right into his chest. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed and have an amazing day. We'll catch you guys in the next part.